Hello, welcome back. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and for joining us here. Let's spend the next few minutes today talking about the fact, because it is a fact, that you are not alone. You are never alone. There may be times, and perhaps you're feeling that this is one of those times, where it feels like you are alone, that you're the only one that has what we would call in the world struggles or challenges or grief or pain or loss or anything like that. It feels in times like these that we're alone, that we're the only one that's experiencing this thing that we're experiencing, whatever it is. And it also sometimes feels like we're the only ones experiencing anything at all, which is not the case. We are not alone. So we're going to take this conversation, as you might imagine, because this is A Course in Miracles, we're going to take it deeper than surface level, deeper than the level that people talk about here in the world, which actually is very helpful. That, hey, you're not alone if you need an ear, if you need to have a good cry type help, the offer of support, that type of thing that people offer in the world. It's very helpful. Let's take it deeper than that, because this is A Course in Miracles. We're not alone because we're literally not alone. There is only perfect oneness. We are our brother. We're not like our brother. We're not related to our brother by blood or genealogy or whatever we say. We're not similar to our brother. We are our brother. There is only perfect oneness. We are indeed one with our Creator, one with God. Really, that's fact. We're one with God. So we cannot be alone. None of us can be alone because we're never alone. Again, we're taking it all the way to the deepest possible level. So this is an idea that we have to repeat. We have to mention it over and over again on the spiritual path because we're so resistant to it. Our own habitual ego clinging leads us to a place where we're literally paralyzed and terrified and afraid. We think we're all alone in a great big savage world that eats us. And it's natural to encounter tremendous resistance to the central teaching of A Course in Miracles, that there is no world. We can't be alone because there is no separation of any kind. We are not separate from our brother, and we're not separate from God. There is no separation. So you might rightly ask, how do we do this in our mind? How do we make this switch from specialness and ego clinging to oneness when our sense of ego, individuality, is so deeply ingrained and it's supported by our societal structures everywhere in the world? It's supported by our schools. It is. I mean, pick up your biology textbook. It says you're a human being, Homo sapiens sapiens. What does that even mean if we're not a body? It's just a collection of sounds that we've made up. It's not who we are. So, how do we make this switch mentally to the point where we not only begin to accept that we're not a body, but we actually come to embrace it and welcome the thought that there is no world? Seems maybe like a very tall order indeed, especially when you're first starting out. So if you're just starting out, well, welcome, welcome. Here's something that is worth mentioning. No matter if you're just checking this course out for the first time or if you've been a student for decades, it's worth mentioning that there is a reason why you are here in the midst of all of the other chatter. That's actually putting it quite nicely, isn't it? All of the other stuff that's out there on the internet and in print and social media. Here you are watching this particular video, which I hope you'll find cuts right to the chase, just like this course itself. It is not designed to waste your time. Yeah. It's worth taking into account then that there is a part of you that knows that everything in this course is true. Every word, every syllable, all of it. There's a part in all of us deep down that knows this to be true. It is why we are even interested in the spiritual path. There's so much else that the world proffers to us and invites us to go out and take by force, if necessary, to get, to grab, to conquer, to achieve. Yet we're all drawn to this collection of teachings, this collection of practices and activities known as spirituality. Why? We've heard the call of our inner teacher, and you have answered it, just as I've answered it. That's why we're all here. So how do we make this mental shift? Well, here in chapter 9, section 2 of the text, Jesus gives us some very helpful pointers and some very helpful information here that will help us to understand and will help us to practice the ideas set forth in this course, which, as you might imagine, is where the action lies. I mean, that's where it's at, in practical application of these teachings, which prove to us that the teachings, are true. That's how we do it. We prove this to ourselves. We make this mental switch ourselves. We're told in paragraph 6, just straight up, the best way to present this material, that we cannot hear the voice for God alone because we're not alone. Hence the opening few statements here in this video. We're not alone, literally. We cannot hear the Holy Spirit alone because we're not alone. So we can't wall ourselves off and separate ourselves from our brother, from God, from every other living thing, and expect to hear the voice for God, which is shared. It's shared. So when we don't share, we can't hear the Holy Spirit. We're covering our ears, covering our eyes, walling ourselves off behind this smokescreen, because it is just a smokescreen of our precious individuality. This course refers to it as our specialness, which is an apt term for this because we hold ourselves apart from everybody else. We think we're so special, which could take the form of thinking we're superior to everyone else, or it could take the form of us having this belief that we're inferior to everyone else. Either way, it's the same thing. We hold ourselves apart from everyone else in our mind, and we appear to stand apart from everyone else. Yet we're not apart from anyone else, ever. So this is a very important idea, which we need to hear over and over again until such time as we begin to contemplate it. Very important, isn't it? We begin to allow these ideas to permeate our mind. You cannot hear the voice for God alone because you are not alone. You're never alone. Ever. That's impossible. So the more we hear it, the more likely we are to begin to contemplate it and to begin to let truth seep in, even if it's just for a second or two. Just the slightest crack in this veneer is enough for the Holy Spirit to rush in and do his thing. So imagine if you open an even wider gap for the voice for God to pour through, as it were. One of the central teachings of this course is that to give and to receive are one in truth. Here in the world, when we give something, we appear to be out that something, don't we? We give somebody money, we no longer have the money. Or we give someone a gift, we don't have the gift. We appear to be lacking. Yet that's not the way giving really works. Giving and receiving are exactly the same thing. They're one in truth. So, in order for us to hear the voice of the Holy Spirit for ourselves, we extend it. Remember, to give the Holy Spirit to our brother, to extend love to our brother, is to receive love. We then get that back. The form that takes doesn't matter. What matters is the content, love, extending the Holy Spirit to our brother. That's how we keep it in our mind. This is how we keep the love of God in our mind, by sharing it. Our brother returns it to us and it strengthens. When we give it, we receive it. When we receive it, we give it automatically. That's naturally how this works. When you allow yourself to even think for a moment of how holy and blessed you are, it's a natural instinct to share that. So what winds up happening is we won't trust the voice for God in ourselves until we hear it in others. Again, we're proving to ourselves that these teachings are true, that this works. If we keep it all to ourselves, we won't know that it works. In fact, we're prone in that instance to think that it doesn't work because we're not doing it. We're not practicing it. Our job here is to share the Holy Spirit with our brother, to forgive the Son of God, to extend the love of God to every single living thing. And as we do, it is returned to us. Why? We're giving it to whom? Ourselves. We're learning that we're all one, and our experience proves it to us. The idea of love, the idea of perfect oneness, is therefore strengthened in our mind. That's how it works. As we give, we receive. In the converse, as we receive the love of God, as we allow ourselves to receive the love of God because we are worthy, then we naturally give. Withholding a gift is suffering. To give and to receive are one in truth. And the Holy Spirit is for your brother because he's for you. You're one, remember. And we're also told here in this very same paragraph, paragraph 6, that we won't know the trust that Jesus has in us until we extend it. In other words, we won't know his love for us, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, same, unless we extend it. So that's how we know that we have it in our mind, is we share it. We already have the love of God. We've never lost it. We may think that we have, that we've run off, that we've cast ourselves out of the garden. There is no Garden of Eden. That's actually a myth. It can be a useful teaching device if you see it as a symbol. What it symbolizes is something that never took place. The separation from God, it never occurred. We're invited in the study and practice of A Course in Miracles to accept what's known as atonement for ourselves. When we accept atonement for ourselves, central to this is the acknowledgement, our acknowledgement that the separation never occurred, it never took place. We're perfectly at home in God where we've always been. You want to know why we've always been there? There is no place else. There is nothing else. What we're doing with this course is removing the barriers to our awareness of this perfect oneness. We're removing the obstacles that we ourselves have placed to truth. We're clearing the clutter. We're getting it all out of the way. And the way we do it is not violently by making the clutter an enemy. It's not a thing. It is not real. So we simply remove it in our mind. We set it aside and allow the light of truth to shine. We bring this light of truth to our brother and we recognize ourselves. We share the Holy Spirit. We recognize the Holy Spirit. And we teach ourselves that there is no separation at all. So how do you share the love of God with your brother? Well, you will be told exactly how and exactly what to do by your inner teacher. What that looks like here in the world, in the dream, will vary. Not everyone is going to receive the directive that I have received to broadcast on YouTube and other channels for that matter. It does not necessarily involve a camera and microphone. It need not involve what looks to the outside world like a teaching function. How you extend the love of God to your brother is going to be however the Holy Spirit directs you to do it. Enter the most critical importance of our relationship with our inner teacher, because when we forgive the world, when we forgive the Son of God, we do so under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, our inner teacher, the voice for God, your guide or guides. You can call the Holy Spirit whatever you want to. It is part of our mind. It is the part of our mind that is rightly known as the voice for God. It speaks for God. It speaks for who we are. I mean, one with means one with. God simply extends himself. We are the extension of God. We're the thought of God. We're the Son of God. What we're doing is we're waking up to this. So what is commonly known in the world as enlightenment or realizing God or attainment in some traditions, awakening, it's rightly called awakening because that's what this is. What's going on here all around us is a dream from which we're waking up. So the question for us then becomes right here today in the present moment is, how quickly do we wish to wake up? As we have the present moment right now to extend love to our brother. That's what we're all invited to do. Very good. All right. Along the way, questions will arise. It's inevitable because spirituality is, in fact, a process of deep, deep self-inquiry, isn't it? So to the extent that questions arise that you would like to discuss here, you're more than welcome to do so. Please feel welcome to leave questions and pop in just to say hello if you'd like to. Comments and questions are always more than welcome. And if you have not yet subscribed, the arrow here in the corner of your screen is the subscription button. I invite you to go ahead and click on that and join us. What you'll get here is a handful of discussions. These videos appear several times a week. We're going through the text of A Course in Miracles. And incidentally, in case you're joining us for the first time or you're relatively new to these conversations, they're designed for all experience levels, from beginning students to advanced students, and it's also 100% appropriate for those of you who may just be checking this out. And you've heard about this thing called A Course in Miracles. What's it all about? Yeah. So it occurs to me that as we go forward, there are almost 900 of these videos here in this series. So this actually leads me to say that if you have a particular question, it may be much easier to just ask than to comb through 900 of these. So there are topics that we revisit from time to time, like forgiveness. Anyway, questions are more than welcome. And I thank you, as always, for joining me here today. And I will see you all very soon.